Hey, what's up guys? Thanks for joining Chef Talks. This is the channel that's dedicated to teach you how to cook like a real chef. So, if you're interested in techniques and upping that culinary game, make sure you subscribe, turn on notifications, because we're going to keep doing these. And I'm going to start with the basics and we're going to work our way up to fine dining, and you're going to do it with me. So, if you like what you hear, subscribe and let's get cooking. What's up guys? So since we're talking about knives, let's start with knife safety. Every time I go to somebody's house and I watch them cook dinner, I'm like cringing because I swear they're gonna lose some digits. They're either not holding their knife properly or they're not grounding their cutting board. So let's start with grounding the cutting board. Every cutting board, whether it's wood, plastic, doesn't really matter, it's going to move around on any surface. You don't want this because if you're in the middle of cutting and it slides, you're going to lose some digits. So first thing you should do is get yourself a wet towel. This is just a regular old kitchen towel. You're going to put it underneath your cutting board, between your cutting board and the table. Give it a little press and kind of shake it back and forth. You're already going to feel the difference. It's night and day. Now you're going to feel a little bit more confident when you're getting in there with that sharp knife. Let's go on to how to hold a knife properly. Most of the time when I see somebody holding a knife, they're either putting their finger on the top and trying to hold it, or they're holding it right by the handle like this, and their knuckles are hitting the table. It's just not working. And if you look, you have no side control whatsoever on that knife. If you're trying to cut and you hit something, your knife is going to lose control and you're not going to know where it's going until it's too late. So, very important, pinch the blade on either side like this. If you fit right against that and hold it, curl your top finger over top of the knife, hold with the other three fingers under the handle. Also look, you'll see that my knuckles do not touch the board, and I have some pretty big knuckles. They do not touch the board, allowing me to cut perfectly every time. Now, second thing we should talk about is the bear claw. Now, with your less dominant hand, so whichever hand you're not holding the knife with, if you make kind of a bear claw, and if you look, you'll notice that your fingers are curled underneath and straight here. That's what you want. This is the position right here, nice and straight and down on an angle, so that when you're using your knife, you put your blade against this part of your fingers and you slide it up and down around those knuckles, and your fingers will never be underneath the blade. If you start holding like this and you make one too many cuts, you're going to lose a fingernail, you're going to lose a fingertip, and it's not going to be pretty. Make sure you have that bear claw position, slide back and forth, and you have nothing to worry about. Now, there's another method when it comes to the movement of your knife. You don't want to be lifting your knife off of the board, because that just means that you don't know where that knife is going to go. If you rock it, which is why it has this shape, if you rock it on the board, this will prevent that knife from going where you don't want it and losing some fingers. You get nice clean cuts every time. As you move your hand back, you can move the knife along the board. Now, a lot of that comes from a circular motion. If you watch chefs when they cook, they always go in this same sort of motion. Moves the knife along the board without ever taking it off the board. Very important. So, as you're cutting things, you can move along and keep it nice and straight. So, that's the basics of knife safety. Make sure you're holding it properly. You will eventually build up a callus here from the top of the knife, but that's what you want. That makes it hurt less. And if you're doing a lot of cooking, that's going to actually help you because it gives you a little bit more pressure in your cuts. Another big misconception is people think that using a sharp knife is dangerous and you're going to get cut. You're going to get cut on a dull knife way before you get cut on a sharp one. The reason is when you go to cut something with a sharp knife, it's going to go through it. You do it with a dull knife and it's going to slide off, it's going to go out of control, and you don't know where it's going to end up. But if you're using your knife properly, you should really never get cut. So make sure you're holding your knife properly, make sure it's nice and sharp. After each use, run it on that steel. Try not to store it in drawers with other metal objects, things like that, because it will damage the blade. And always keep running that steel. If you have a good chef knife, it should last you 20 years more. As long as you take care of it, keep it sharp. And you can even take them in and get them sharpened professionally if it gets really bad. Or there are tutorials out there on how to sharpen your knife with a stone. If you're ready for that, I may do some of those tutorials later on, but for now, let's just assume we're not there yet. We're going to use our steel, and if worst case scenario, we're going to take it in and get it sharpened professionally. But otherwise, if you take good care of your knife, it will last you forever. These do not rust. A good one does not rust. So make sure you know what you're buying before you get it. If you have any questions, put it in the comments down below, and I'll try to get back to as many people as possible. Think of this as a culinary education. I'm teaching you, so by all means, put your hand up, ask some questions. Alright, that's it for today's episode of Chef Talk. So if you enjoyed it, hit that thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on your notifications so you can learn along with us. And otherwise, I'll see you next time. Good cooking.